Hello everyone. So today Teva Drive, or should we call it TEVAtalk, because we're not driving actually today. Dean, who just got delivery of his Model 3 3 weeks ago, and Dean is commuting every day from Brampton to Cambridge. So your previous car was a Jetta diesel?
A 2002 TDI, yeah, Jetta diesel.
All right, so
pre-Dieselgate even.
All right,
that old.
So that definitely a huge difference from your previous car. So maybe you can just tell us a little bit on number one, what made you choose this particular car for the replacement for your Jetta, and then tell us maybe a little bit about how the delivery went, etc.
Sure. I was trying to reflect back to even why I even started getting my head down the EV road, right? Like, why even go EV? Everyone's traditionally gasoline, right? And I guess started looking at the price and the cost of ownership, and really the simplicity that these cars start to have, with all the lack of parts to break down. No more muffler, no more exhaust, no more catalytic converter, and
even brakes are limited because you don't use them much.
Yeah. And then just the green side of it. I remember, like, we've been after 9/11 when all the planes were grounded, the reports that were coming in on how clean the air was just from the amount of planes that were out of the air. Well, the same thing is true with all the cars that are driving around. So that's where my head started going down the EV world. And then started reading more and more and hearing about Tesla. And then 6 a.m. on the April 1st of 2016, so that's the morning after the
reveal,
the reveal event, yeah. I put my order in, or sorry, put my
reservation,
fully refundable place in line.
That's right.
Because at the time I didn't really know, was there going to be good reviews on it? Was my car going to last? And I was going to have to abandon and buy something else.
Was it this first time in your life that you reserved something that you didn't even drive?
Yes. This was a complete departure for me. Someone usually overanalyzes what I'm buying when I'm putting a significant amount of money into something.
I think for most people it's
sight unseen.
Yeah. So basically you waited until 3 weeks ago, and when you got the email to configure, you configured the car, paid the extra $2,500, and then how quickly from the moment you firmed up your order and paid the $2,500 till your delivery time, approximately how long did it take?
Well, it was funny. It was just under two years to the day from the reservation to the point I was getting the email saying, hey, it's ready to configure. I kept checking my email every day and to see if it would come in, and finally it did. I waited till the next day, starting to think about options and colors and so on, because now you're committing. Yeah. Put the order in the next day, and then it said 4 to 8 weeks for delivery. So that 4 to 8 weeks ended on May 23rd, and I was starting to give up hope, thinking, oh, it's not going to be within the 8 weeks. It's going to come, but it's not going to be within the 8 weeks. Then I started getting the calls from the delivery coordinator, I think the title is, and it got delivered on the 22nd, 1 day earlier than the end of the 8 weeks.
8 weeks, okay.
Yeah. So in fact, 3 weeks ago at this time, I was at Tesla Oakville signing papers and getting an orientation on how all this works.
And so we've been driving for 3 weeks, and you've driven almost close to 3,000 kilometers, so you have a pretty good experience under your belt already regarding your commute and everyday use, etc., etc. So what are your first impressions of this car?
Well, first of all, overall I love it. I'm very happy. I'm not having any regrets about it whatsoever. I would say when I first got it, it was a huge amount of paradigm shifts. Like, there were so many things that I found different about it. One, jumping from an older 2002 vehicle, even had a tape deck in it, to a 2018 Tesla. So that was quite the departure. The keyless entry suddenly, walking up to the car and having it just unlock, or walking away without locking the car or anything. It felt very weird and foreign at first.
What about learning how to actually use the different features of the car? Did it take you a few days to get used to that?
I think probably no more than I thought it would have taken a lot longer. If you ever rent a car, you're kind of going, how do the wipers work on this car? How do you do
the
high beams? The basics. And when I saw this and I got the orientation at Tesla, it did seem pretty overwhelming. But then once you have some time to yourself, it becomes pretty straightforward.
Are you the person that likes to read manuals before you start driving, or you just kind of learn as you go?
Learn as you go.
Oh, yeah, I'm the same way. So overall, very positive impressions, especially compared to your last car. And then how did your delivery go at it was the early stages of the deliveries. It was, I think, before they even opened the international center at the airport. So they gave you the choice of either Oakville or Lawrence. You chose Oakville. How did the delivery process go?
So basically, we set up the time. It was all done via email. Maybe a few phone calls to confirm things like insurance and things like that. And went there 3 weeks ago to around this time to go pick it up. Went in, was greeted very clean, warm welcome from the staff there. I was excited actually seeing these. I had never seen a Model 3 in real life, so it was the first time I was seeing not only mine but them in general.
So you didn't go into the dealership to actually sit in one before you got delivery?
No,
you didn't get a chance?
No,
so
I didn't get a chance.
First actual encounter in close encounter with the car. Wow. So what time was your appointment? Like in the morning, I guess midweek appointment for delivery?
It was in the evening, so I was
evening, okay.
clamoring to get out of work that day to get out to that appointment.
Gotcha. So how long did the whole process take?
It was actually pretty quick. We got there. We chatted about the car and Tesla in general.
Was it one-on-one? Did they actually get in the car with you and then just went over the features with you in a demo in a showroom, or was it actually in your car?
It was in the showroom in my car.
In your kind of showroom.
They kind of have a staging area.
Oh, okay.
So that's where there was a nice counter there. We could sit there and go over the papers, and we did that type of thing. We looked at the car very briefly. Then we did all the paperwork. And then we got here. He sat where you were, where you are, and I sat here. And he goes, "Let's go over the controls." One of the things they went over first was the exteriors things, like
the checklist, basically. Right?
Yeah, and the frunk. How to close the frunk. Because it's a front-facing trunk, so to speak. I guess it's got to be closed and sealed more thoroughly. You don't want water getting in there.
That's right.
You don't want it flying open while you're driving. So you got to give it a very firm press to close it. So they kind of go over that with you. Then in here we got in and we hooked up the phone, learned the cards, learned the phone. Went over the controls in here.
So you basically they hooked up the features on your phone to be able to start the car and then unlock the car. They also provided you with 2 key cards,
correct,
which are the size of a credit card, but they are almost as thin as a business card.
Yeah.
So they provide you with 2 of those, so your family members can use it, and through the phone you can even have more users if need be, I guess. So generally speaking, everything went pretty smoothly at the delivery center. Once you left, you felt like you knew enough to get home.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah, okay. I was very nervous. I think it wasn't about any problems with the car. It's I got this new car. I don't want to smash it up.
Yeah,
but it was a very good experience. The one thing that did happen was, though, they activated the phone, and I downloaded the app months ago, and I kept trying to sign into it using my Tesla account, and it kept saying you don't have a vehicle associated, because I hadn't taken ownership yet. So the reason they do that, and even right to the moment of delivery, is once you have it associated, you can open it and honk horns. And he mentioned that people were doing that, so they discouraged that. But we got it up and running. What happened was the next day, the app lost track of the phone on both the phones we had associated with it. So I called up Tesla, and they said, well, sometimes it takes up to 3 days for it to pair. I found that kind of strange, but then boom, it just magically came back. And I have found I never use the card, and it's with my wallet, and it's in my wallet for any time I need it, but the app works perfectly. I walk up to the car, everything unlocks
itself,
and the whole thing wakes up.
And similarly, when you walk away, the car will lock itself.
I found that hard at first, just walking away from an unlocked car, and I kept checking the app to make sure the little lock icon went to locked, but I've gotten past that now. So what options did you select for your car? On top of the ones that are required, I guess. So the base, of course, plus the premium upgrade package is required right now. The long range battery, which I was leaning towards anyways. I didn't go for
enhanced autopilot. Do you regret it now, or?
I don't, because I don't know what I'm missing. Yeah. And I think it's when you try a finer whiskey that you step back and you notice the difference. So I'm almost afraid to try it.
Yeah.
I've heard rumors that there's going to be a trial period, maybe a week long or however long.
But since the hardware is actually all there, I think you still have an option down the road if you want to get it. You can get it. It's just maybe they may charge you more than they would have up front, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
So
we were having a conversation about that today, and my view was, and now I'm kind of, after this conversation, a little bit different. My view was, well, first of all, I'll explain what this does have, because I found that interesting. I was always wondering before I got the vehicle is, well, if I'm not getting enhanced autopilot, what do I get? Yeah. And what you do get is you get the standard cruise control that holds the speed. You get lane departure warning, so you can see on the display here the gray lines. If I were to start to veer, and it's an option you can turn on and off, the steering wheel vibrates.
Okay.
You get kind of like you're going over rumble strips.
Lane departure warning, basically.
And yeah, so it warns you. You also see the vehicles in front of you. And if a car, you actually see two vehicles in front of you when you're a bit closer. And if they
get too close,
or you're approaching at a speed that seems unreasonable for the situation, again, this is something you can turn on and off through settings. It warns you.
Like a signal, like a sound.
A sound. The cars go red on here.
Okay.
It will actually apparently even brake for you. I haven't been in a situation where I've needed it to, but if you look at the settings, it says it will do it for you. Okay. And this is all kind of the standard one.
Standard, yeah.
Enhanced autopilot, from what I understand.
You have an adaptive cruise, so it'll maintain its distance and it'll steer for you.
And stay in the lane
within a certain parameter.
And do lane changes and parking.
Exactly. So that's kind of. But yeah, you have all the basic safety features are already here. So and because this whole discussion of autopilot right now and how and its limitations, etc., and then the future maybe technologies and various levels of the autopilot, I think. Now, for example, myself, I'm like you, I wouldn't not pay for it at this time. It's good to know that the car already has the hardware, so if the technology evolves and it comes to a point where, like you said, level 4, or then you can activate it, and you have the option right now. But like right now, I probably wouldn't, just like you, I wouldn't go for it. So but that's just my personal. A lot of people did go for it. So the $64,000 car became over 70, like 72 basically. Yeah. Because there were two levels. I think there's enhanced autopilot, and there's like one more step above.
Apparently, it's another. If I recall, another 4,000
that's right,
to go for full autonomous, which truly isn't 100% here yet.
Yeah, exactly.
But a couple of people I know that have it, the enhanced autopilot, say they would never do without it. And in the conversation we actually had just this afternoon about it, where my view is what I'm afraid of is that this will start to make you too complacent.
Exactly.
And then you become one level removed.
Exactly.
And then slowly get more complacent and 2 levels removed. And the next thing you know, something happens and you need to engage. And that was my view.
You lose the vigilance, basically.
The person I was talking to, though, corrected me. Or his view was very different. He goes, it allows you to be focusing on different things. So you just can't become all disengaged in reading a book and texting. You still have to be in control of the vehicle. He goes, but what it does allow you to do is pay a little less attention to the little housekeeping things, like distance, like staying in the lane, because the car is doing that. So now you can start paying attention to the things around you that are other things that might go wrong. And I thought, that was kind of an interesting way of looking at things. He said he would never go without it, and has no regrets. It makes driving that much more relaxing. So I'm almost afraid to experience it because I might not be able to go back.
Yeah, exactly. That's right, yeah.
Another thing I found very interesting was regenerative braking. And a friend of mine who's got a Model X let me take it out for a small little test drive. And we were coming up to a stop sign, and I just took my foot off the gas to let the speed kind of start to come down. And then the car really fell quickly. And that was, what's going on here? And he explained it to me. And so when I got this, I was expecting it already. So I knew what to expect. It still took a little bit of getting used to, probably half an hour maybe. But then I've also driven, the other car we have is a Toyota Venza. And I drove that since I've been getting used to this. And I found it felt very different. I very much missed it. It felt like the car just keeps going unreasonably. So it was something that
the one pedal driving is a huge benefit for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
I would have difficulty not having it, and that's why one of the reasons why you're basically not using your brakes, because you don't need to use them. You know,
and if you like it, you can.
So you keep it on. There's two settings, right? Basically, so you're keeping it on maximum regeneration pretty much most of the time, right?
So there's forward collision that I was telling you about, automatic emergency braking and lane departure. So you can turn all this stuff off if you want.
As well,
warnings about speed.
Speed limit warning and speed limit, brightness, etc. So all the settings are there.
Yeah.
So you basically learned as you go, and then by now you're pretty comfortable that you know most of the major features of the car.
I think you're always learning. So cruise control. You activate by going to a certain speed and flicking the stick here down. Apparently, to do enhanced autopilot, you flick it down twice. And when it's there, you got a number here that shows you your cruise control speed, and you can do plus and minus. Well, I also learned that these controls start to control that as well. So you constantly learn things.
And what do you feel about the wipers? The fact that you have to go through the menu, so you can only do single swipe with the movement, and then you have to go through the menus to actually activate your wipers. Does it bother you at all?
So 3 weeks. I guess we're in kind of a dry season, and I haven't
gone through the major rain.
No, and what I have. I have mine set to auto, so when it started to get a bit misty, they just came on.
Always at auto, so it defaults to auto basically.
Yeah.
So I think most people will just do that, I guess. Okay, so in that case, you don't need to worry about it. Amazing. Well, this is great. I really appreciate your feedback and the story. Tomorrow we're going to be witnessing an actual delivery at the International Center of a similar person like you that has never driven an electric car before. So a lot of the Model 3 owners have had exposure. They've had other electric cars before, and even for them it's an adjustment. But it's kind of interesting for people to hear, people who have never driven an electric that are now switching to Tesla and Model 3 as like what your impressions are. So we really appreciate your feedback on that, and we hope you enjoy many years of happy ownership of Model 3, and perhaps we'll get together again in about a year or two, so you can tell us more about your long-term experiences with this car. Hopefully they'll be all good, and thank you very much for your time today.
All right,
Dean,
thanks.
thank you.
It was nice meeting you.